Aiden sighed as he led his steed into the crowded street. The citizens of Celestium had flocked to see their heroes that had saved them from the dark tide, yet no doubt they did not expect to see him look so downtrodden. Indeed, Aiden himself did not foresee such a foul mood overtaking him at such a time as this, but, as he gave it mind, it really shouldn't have come as a surprise. After all, this is the last time he would see them. Aiden looked over his shoulder as his journeymen, his friends, disappeared into the crowd. Without turning away, he thought, "Let's go, Alistair." And with a snort, the warhorse beneath him obeyed his telepathic command. Aiden caught one last glimpse of Vipin's ever-small, present glow in the evening light as the ferry drifted from view. He fixed his eyes on the road ahead. "Let's go home," he whispered. As he traveled the long road back to Amberstone, Aiden had ample time to think, to remember. He recalled how it all begun, just a quiet afternoon when he discovered the four passed out in the ruins of some ancient temple. He smiled as he remembered forcing them to do all the chores to get their weapons back. "Gloriosum never was too fond of me after that day," he muttered to himself as he patted Alistair on the back. He remembered how he had first learned of the Prophet of the Eclipse, and how the day of the Blight began. How the good citizens of Amberstone were so quickly turned into those mindless creatures incapable of death, and how he had vowed he would put an end to it all. Aiden chuckled. If only I had known what I was getting myself into. Memories of deep forests, ancient elves, and those blasted sand elementals filled the hours as he rode. Yet together they made it through it all. They had even fought a dragon and lived to tell the tale. He had been joined to them by purpose, fused to them by battle, and then torn from them by victory. Together they adventured, bled, and even become heroes. But apart, they lived on. Aiden let out a deep breath as he pictured once again his final blow. How his blade had shone with radiance, and how his heart had burned with passion as he cut deep into the demon's flesh. How he wished he could have known that by ending it, he had ended them. And so the weeks passed, and Aiden let his mind wander as he rode along the grassy, wavy plains. If only he had known. At the end of the month-long journey, Aiden's steed pranced along a path that knew well. Aiden caught a glimpse of his home between the trees. But in a moment before he was once again... it was before it once again. Aiden took in the familiar scent of blossoming buds. He eased himself out of the saddle and rolled his shoulders. "Well, boy," Aiden patted Alistair on the neck. "We made it home." Aiden willed Alistair to depart, and the steed faded beneath his palm. He was home, and home alone. Aiden looked over his dwelling and ran his hand along the wooden wall. It had certainly fallen into some disrepair since he'd been gone, but nothing that couldn't be fixed. Aiden unlocked the door and opened it with a creak. He gazed inside and smiled a sad smile. A chapter had ended, a chapter that would be dearly missed. But even so, he couldn't help but hope there were greater adventures yet to come. It is with this that I denote the story of the momentous occasion of the christening of the end of my journey into the past, aka the end of the D&D campaign. The campaign we've been playing for over a year now has finally come to a close, and while it's sad to see it go, I'm looking forward to cool new campaigns in the future. The character in that intro was Aiden, who I played for the campaign that just ended. He was a half-elf paladin, and I will say a decent character to play. Not particularly colorful, but good nonetheless. Plus, I've got to say, I'm going to miss the smites. Seriously, at level 9, in one turn he did 121 damage to the final boss. And for all of you that don't play D&T, let me inform you, that's a lot. Honestly, smites are pretty broken. So yeah, that occasion being noted, let's move on to life, shall we? After I finished my last live email, I got to talk to Jordan, and to my surprise, meet his new girlfriend. Now, I must say, girls are weird enough on their own. Like, if you put a girl in an empty white room, the contents of that room would be officially classified as weird. However, when you take the word girl and add it to friend, but of course, not meaning the composite of those words, what clearly implies, aka a girl which is your friend, but instead meaning a girl whom you're romantically attracted to and you're in a romantic relationship with, which makes no sense. The weirdness factor gets multiplied by 27, because now not only do you have your friend, who is also a girl, but you are required by social laws and dictates to now accept your friend, you're required to accept the girl as your friend as well. It doesn't matter if you think she's cool or annoying or whatever. You don't get to have the choice in that matter. Thus, I conclude that girlfriend is a strange concept, and one I'm quite happy to distance myself from. However, you are now all required to consult me before you find your significant other, lest I find them unbearably annoying. Anyway, having expressed my convictions regarding the weirdness of girlfriends, the call was decent. She seemed okay, but she talked a lot. I mean, Jordan is just quiet and thoughtful, but like his girlfriend, I feel like I've been put in a social straitjacket and then drowned in a billion words. I don't know, I guess opposites attract. Anyway, that went on for like 2 hours before I slumped against my social cage, begging Jordan to let me out, which to his credit, he promptly did. So the conversation ended, and not a moment too soon. And I'm grateful for that fact, and I've lived to tell the tale. The other thing that happened in the afternoon was Ben purchased a vehicle. It's actually pretty darn nice, and it has an amazing sound system. Here's some pics. So that was monumentous. The other thing that happened is I did some work on a good old theology paper that afternoon. Sunday, I woke up, went to church, which was mad best, and worked some more on that theology paper. I went to Neo's house and was substantially bored as Neo and Braden geeked out over random computer stuff and played VR with. Oh, and I played some VR with Braden and Neo. It was Braden's first time playing, so he thought it was pretty darn cool. We then fought each other on Minecraft, which was also meh, and then Neo and I played some Minecraft into the night. Wow, I think Monday was my first day of school. That's trippy. I feel like I've been back in school for ages, but I guess not. Anyway, I woke up for a government class, which was completely pointless. The informational content in that 55-minute lecture can be actually summed up to, "Hello, students. My name is Professor blah, 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 and you're taking a government class." Rests his head on keyboard and mutters sleepily, "You woke me up to tell me that?" Yeah, that was lame. After school, though, I proceeded to work, and I learned that my hours have been reduced by 5 per week. In case you weren't taking calculus, like I am, that's not very much. Hours, that is. Upon coming home from work, I spent the majority of the afternoon working on my Questbridge college application. I don't know if I told you guys about this yet, but apparently, if you're poor and decently smart, of which I am both, then you can apply to get maybe a full-ride scholarship to an Ivy League college. So yeah, if that happened, that would be pretty darn awesome. However, my tedious college application was cut short by my dad requesting I attend a dinner hosted by one of his childhood friends, a guy named Chad, so I obliged him. I thought I was going to be really bored, but in all honesty, it turned out to be pleasantly surprised. Chad's family is pretty fun and witty, and it turns out that they were all like Chad. Well, in particular. And Chad would, they were all, like Chad in particular, pretty interested in philosophy. So I got to rant for like 3 hours straight. The everyone but Chad wasn't able to keep up, so I kind of just left them in the intellectual dust. Anyway, yeah, I talked about philosophy and some theology for like 3 or 4 hours straight, and it was actually a great night. And then, after I got home, I ran out the night with some more college application stuff. Yay. The next day was the bro's birthday, which we didn't really celebrate, like at all. Basically, all that was done is we put some dry ice in a cup and had it blow bubbles you could watch. And that was actually pretty cool. Here's a picture of Ben during that endeavor. As you can tell, he looks very amused. But yeah, the day was pretty normal for me. School, work, Crestbridge application. The only thing that was different is that night as I stayed home from Master Christie and watched X-Men with Mom and Ben. Wednesday was pretty darn uneventful. I mean, I think my entire day was taken up by just doing school, work, and then youth group. I don't like days like that. I want to accomplish at least something worth mentioning. Thursday was more school, more work, more filing out college applications, but I guess the afternoon was unique. I went over to Neo's house and we played Minecraft and ate Wendy's until the wee hours in the morning. I must say, the world we built is pretty darn awesome. For example, check out this cool farming tower we, mostly me, made. This is a pic from inside. It's kind of blurry, and you don't always get the highest quality pictures when you're falling to your death. But you know, it's there. I also want to show you the cool castles we built, but I'm not quite finished with it, so you have to wait. Also, this was all made on survival mode, though we did have some mods, so sorry to disappoint all you vanilla Minecrafters. One more thing before we move on. This totally takes me back to my first life emails when I built one of those castles with my cousins. Does anyone remember that? I just skimmed through one of those life emails, and that brings back memories. Anyway, I found the pic of the castle I made back then, so I'm going to include it for posterity's sake. You know, looking at this castle I built a year and a half ago, it looks like the one I just built. I wonder if that means anything. Anyway, I did that, and the next day I had school where I did a lot of math and finally wrote my last essay and finished my Questbridge cap allocation, which was a pain to write, might I say. Plus, I also submitted an application to Colorado School of Mines, so we'll see if I get what the verdict I get there is. After that, I did, I proceeded to journey to Braden's house where we talked and played Smash Bros. Until like 11:30. As for Saturday, this is awkward. I have no idea what I did on Saturday. I usually take brief notes each day so I can remember what happened, but as for Saturday, I got nothing. Sunday, however, I do remember, and I know that I went out for donuts with the Wades as a late birthday thing for Ben. That time was decent, not particularly interesting, but not horrible either. I then proceeded to do some D&D at Neo's, as usual, and then we got into an ethical debate over ditches before playing Minecraft together until 12:30. Monday was the beginning of a dark season, or perhaps a joyous season, depending on who you're asking. And though I know I risk becoming anathema to some of you, I believe you deserve to know the truth. I started watching anime. Oh, how this dark downfall came. Well, it was my friend, Joe. He offered to read my book if I watched a season of anime, and of course, I turned him down, because that would be a huge waste of time. However, he got my book and started reading it, so I thought it would be only fair to repay the favor. And so I watched the first episode of an anime he recommended, and it was all downhill from there. The fact is, the anime, particularly this anime that I watched, called Family Blade Works, looks so cool. They have swords and bows and fancy armor, and honestly, I love it. So yeah, since then, I have been hooked on anime, and hence have tried to incorporate it into my life in such a way as to do minimal damage to my productivity. So, for instance, I've used it to reward myself after school, or in between, reciting history of philosophy. Because believe it or not, trying to remember all those philosophers and what they believe is mentally quite taxing. And for the most part, I've been pretty true to that pattern. The only exception being, I usually watch an episode before bed, and there have been a few times where I get sucked into such a degree I lose track of time. Yeah, sorry about that, Jordan. So yeah, how the mighty have fallen, and who would have thought that it was anime that would bring me low? Anyway, aside from that, aside from my new love my newfound love for anime. I also watched Hillary Clinton's speech right before the 2016 election. I did it because I thought I had to for government, but it turns out that I misunderstood, and that was lame. Nevertheless, I did learn some stuff about the experience. First, I know absolutely nothing about politics. Second, there are a lot more ad hoc attacks in those arguments than there are in other sorts of engagements, which I wasn't surprised by, but nevertheless I was disappointed to discover. Other than that, the day I hung out with Joe. We talked about some plans for an anime group where we and some friends get together and hang out, and sometime during that night, we watched a few episodes of anime. I know. Each time I say anime, your respect for me sinks exponentially. So hopefully, that will happen soon. So that night, I went on rollerblade, watched some you-know-what, and did this thing known as sleep. The following day, I had school and worked till 5. Kind of annoying when you can't do anything you want until 5 in the afternoon. I find that fairly vexing. I then stuffed pizza in my face before rushing to Ratchet Christie, which was decent, but Alice wasn't there, so we didn't get to have any good conversations. However, we did play this war board game, which I can't remember the name of, but it was fun. I tried to work on more college applications when I got home, but I was exhausted, so I ended up not. And watching some you-know-what. The next day, online school was death. I don't know how much experience with the Chromebook you've ever had, but pray you have very little, as it's a pain. I literally counted, and it took a full 5 seconds for my computer to register. I clicked the unmute button for my class's Zoom call. Like my teacher would ask a question, I would click the unmute button, and this is what would occur. 1 second, 2 seconds. Alex, 3 seconds. Alex, did you hear me? 4 seconds, 5 seconds. Alex, can you hear me? And it would be at this point, and not a moment sooner, I would apologize for my computer's miserable slowness and then proceed to answer the question. However, believe it or not, this was more of a best case scenario. Other times, after like 4 seconds, I would click the unmute button again, thinking I had registered the fact I clicked it. And the computer would convey my audio for the briefest second before turning right back off. And I would have to start the whole process over again. Plus, sometimes it took even longer. I think about 10 seconds was the longest it's taken to register. I clicked the unmute button. And while I know 10 seconds doesn't seem very long, when you're meant to respond to a question, 10 seconds is agonizing. Trust me. So yeah, I had to deal with that death. Later that day, I went to work from 2:30 to 5, and there was this youth group thing where we played a lot of volleyball, which was fun. That evening, Ben, Mom, and I finished up X-Men, which we started watching, and I went to Neo's and installed lava walls in my castles that you can turn on and off, which I must say is pretty cool. The next afternoon was a fairly monumentous one. After rushing through my homework, me and Neo drove over to Walmart, where he showed me the best computer deal I think I've ever gotten in my life. See, I don't know how... I didn't know this. I didn't know this, but Walmart models, display models, decrease in price exponentially the longer they're on display. Well, it also happens that at Walmart, near where I am, the Walmart near where I am, there's a manager of the electronics department that really does not like big corporations, including Walmart, which is ironic. And so he, knowing of Walmart's policy, took some display models off display and let them just sit in the back for 2 months, so we could legally sell them for a fraction of their real price to people who needed it, aka like a kind of Walmart Robin Hood. Well, Neo, knowing of my Chromebook situation of death, and knowing that there were some really nice computers his manager was keeping in the back, because he works at Walmart, asked his manager, and he said I could buy one. So we went there, and after like a scare where the manager had sold off one of the 3 nice computers right in front of us, which was super scary, I then purchased the super nice computer, on which I am writing now. Here's some pictures of my computer. There it is in the box, and here it is on my lap as I'm typing a live email. Plus, I got a fancy light-up keyboard where the individual key lights up on its own. So yeah, now I have a really fancy gaming computer that should have cost me like $1,300, but instead only cost me $279. I know, crazy, right? So yeah, Neo helped me set it up, and then we played Minecraft together. He also got me a computer for really cheap, a lot like mine, but a bit nicer. And then at night, I got home, and me and Ben watched some X-Men, the second X-Men movie. The following morning, I woke up and got school done fairly early. I then spent four full hours configuring my computer and setting it up. I then worked on my common application, which is just like the application for all the colleges, and watched some you-know-what, and then read 10 chapters of Exodus. I'm trying to read the Bible chronologically a year, and I got a bit behind. I then went to sleep. The next day, Saturday, I got up early-ish to play soccer, but it was super smoky, and I've been a couch potato as of late, so it was pretty tiring and unpleasant. I then worked on my theological paper and attended the session -1 for the new D&D campaign I recently joined. I'm playing this Warforged Artificer. His name is XA12. And no, it's not a name inspired by Elon Musk's son, so don't ask. We played until like 1 in the morning, and it was super fun. More fun than Neo's campaign, I must say. So I'm definitely looking forward to more sessions. The next morning, I was really tired, and because I could, I got some bonus sleep. The fam and I went over to the Bass's house for breakfast, where we got copious amounts of bacon, which was great. And the kids, us elderly kids included, went down to the basement and smashed it out. After that, I went to Neo's for D&D, but people didn't show up, so we ended up just doing some PvP instead, which was fun, and when I dominated. That night we had a Bible study, which was good, and then me and Neo had some philosophically minded conversations over dishes before rounding out the night with some Minecraft. The following Monday, I did school and a bit of anime. I started my mech engineering class and realized I had gotten this computer just in time because I couldn't have run the software I needed to on the Chromebook. Like, can a Chromebook run any software? So, that was a cool moment of God's timing. I then went on a rollerblade, finished my CU Denver college application, and also finished my Ultimate Blade Works, the anime I was watching. Tuesday consists of school work and more college applications of death, and then Rasher Christie till like 12:30. We discussed theological ethics, which may deem it immoral to drink soda or chew gum. So rip. But no, we later concluded it wouldn't technically be wrong and just be a really, really bad idea to use your faculty in that way. So technically you're still morally allowed to drink soda, even if it's a mistake. But I think we already knew that. The next day consisted of more school, more work, more of you-know-what, more blading, more talking to Elkin, and then sleeping once more. Thursday, I studied math for 3 hours and made some comprehensive notes, which was time-consuming and tedious. But we are allowed to use our notes in our tests, which I just took, and it was totally worth it. Mom, Dad, and Grace then left for Montana, which left me and Ben to subsist on pizza and Arby's for the next 3 or so days, which actually wasn't so bad of a gig. Friday, me and Ben watched this movie called 1917, which was super well done, and basically the rest of the day just spent the day doing school, watching anime, and trying to get back into my philosophy memorizing groove. See, I'd taken a break as I'd gotten behind on memorization as of late, and I've been systematically going through the history of philosophy again, seeing how much I remember, trying to get it all memorized again. Saturday, I got a bit of work done on my theological paper, but I kind of got a bit paralyzed by all the stuff I need to know. But yeah, I will get it done eventually. I then watched a bit of you-know-what, played some soccer, and destroyed, and then went to D&D, which was great once again. Sunday, I woke up, memorized some history of philosophy, watched some more anime, did my last D&D session in Neo's campaign, which is what my intro was all about, and then we had a normally large Bible study with Braden and some other girls that attended. I kind of majorly messed up because one girl said she was Catholic and that she was lesbian, and I casually commented, you know that's a mortal sin, right? Which in hindsight probably wasn't the best idea. I mean, I'm right. Being lesbian is a mortal sin, a sin that will send you to hell if you're not confessed. According to the Roman Catholic Church. But probably could have not said it that way. But yeah, aside from that awkward moment, the other cool thing was that the Bible study was Braden, who is an atheist, joined for the first time this week. And he and Neo had a really good talk over dishes, which took twice as long because there were so many. So, after that was done and Braden left, he stuck around for the dishes just to help out. So I've got to say, pretty virtuous move, even for an atheist. Me and Neo Minecrafted it up. Monday morning, I worked on school, and I worked till 5. And then during work, I came up with ideas for a one-shot instead of studying philosophy. I have a cool idea where I'm going to have everyone fight my old character, Rowan, in this fancy map I designed. Check it out. It was a good amount of work, but I finally got it done, and I'm pretty happy with it. I then talked with Jordan some more, working on memorizing some philosophy once again, and then watched some anime. Tuesday, I worked till 4, and then I taught Ben how to change his oil until 6, and then went to Rasher Christie and hung out there at Wendy's until about midnight. Last Wednesday, I had school as usual. I went to youth group where we played some volleyball, and that was fun. As for yesterday, I spent the day doing school, spent the time doing work, and then tried to memorize more history of philosophy and play this VR game called Robo Recall with Neo, which is pretty darn cool. I also designed my character for this next campaign. And then finally, today I woke up, drew that hexagon grid you saw, and I've been working on this email ever since. And now I've finished it. That's all, folks.